What is the formula behind the C major scale that if I start on any other key on the piano, I can play that exact same scale? Let's look at the formula of the major scale. So what we mean by formula is if it's either a half step or a whole step. So each note on the piano is separated by a half step. Now a whole step is a step with a note in between. So if I go from C to D, what is that? It's a whole step. Why? Because we have a note in between. Let's look a little bit further when we go to the E and the F. So we'll play C, D, E, F. Uh-oh, what happens here? There's no note in between. Therefore, this is a half step. Now, when we get further on, we go whole step, whole step, whole step. And what happens here? We get to B and C. Is that a whole step or a half step? There's no note in between, so that means it's a half step. So now let's play the C major scale with the formula. So here's the formula. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So in all, we have 5 whole steps and 2 half steps, which make up the 7 notes on the scale. C to D, whole step. D to E, whole step. E to F, half step. Why? Because there's no note in between, so therefore it's a half step. F to G is a whole step. G to A, whole step. A to B, whole step. And then B to C is a half step because there's no note in between. The whole step and half step can also be translated as tone or semitone. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Now let's look at how the scale formula works by using a different starting note. Let's take, for instance, the key of G as our starting note. So let's apply the major scale starting on the G. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay, and so we use the formula whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step to make this major scale work. Let's do that again. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay? So the major scale sound can be done from 12 different starting tones on the piano. This means we have 12 major scales we can work with using this formula. Go ahead and use this formula to start on any other key besides C. As you move around the keyboard, you will notice the use of the combination of white and black keys. And there's the first part of the major scale and the formula. In the next part, we're going to talk about how to use the correct fingering to play a major scale. Let's go on to the next part.